My congregation of carnage. Ghastly goblins. Terrifying trolls. It is I, Jacquix Beluga, to welcome you through the forbidden gates of the most anti-divine church of the Morbid. I extend my bloodlusting blessings upon you, for I am your personal sinister minister, one and only official representative and proclamator of the will of the Lord of Morbidity on this very mortal plane. My fiendish friends, it is nice to take a walk every once in a while, to bathe in the pathetic splendor of social anxiety. Today my path led me by a couple of those infamous pushers of that opiate of the mind that we also know as religion. Seeking to enhance my miserable state brought upon me by exposure to people, the sunlight, and the lack of protection from my cold, blank refuge, I decided to initiate conversation. You see, my friends, we too are in the business of pushing spiritual ox dung. And while we all know and rest assured in the fact that only we know the real truth in matters of the metaphysical, we can still learn from these old dinosaurs of the religions of old. In particular, those who follow Abraham, misery has never been far from the most devoted of followers. So, being the good Prime Minister of Morbid that I am, I started to talk to these self-professed witnesses of some sort of deity, to learn their methods of persuasion for the weak and unloved. And lo and behold, my beastly buddies, their pamphlet was entirely of the secular sort. How to prepare for natural catastrophes. A manual for preparation to endure earthquakes, erupting volcanoes, floods, hurricanes, and the sort. Let me show you this pamphlet. So we talk about the amassing of natural disasters this year has seen, and soon I noticed the subtext that will be obvious to anyone who knows the teachings of the Stone Age soothsayers. We are talking about the final judgment of man, the biblical apocalypse that they wish for so much, for hope of ascension into their imaginary dreamland of fluffy bunnies, song and sublime unity with the Heavenly Father. Imaginary constructs one can cling to, for hope of salvation from the only reality we will ever know. And yes, this is how they attract the suffering, the weak, and the unloved. Promise a promised land that is, by all standards of rationality, a mere figment of the imagination. But it will sound good enough for the ones so desperate that they will believe without proof. That is what they have to offer. What can we offer? Is there anything we can do to top these promises of millennia? Yes, my friends, we can top that. Our spiritual kingdoms are manifested in this very reality and in our own lives. Our heaven is not some theological construct that has no shape or form in reality. Our heaven is our daily suffering in depression, anxiety, Weltschmerz, and melancholy. Our judgment passes every day. We engage in the holy ceremonies of gothy rites. Horror games, horror novels, and awesome black clothing. This is the very real truth we offer, to which none of the religious mumbo-jumbo of other religions can compare. And this is how we, in a very real and tangible way, are indeed blessed in misery.
When I snap my fingers, everybody says sure, I'm hot, and you're not. But if you want to hang with me, I'll give it one shot, top that.
No, I'm not in the mood. Oh my god.
No,